Welcome again. And this part is related to the hands-on part. So I would just change slides. Okay, for the hands-on part, we said that we are going to focus more on HTML, CSS, and Bootstrap for what concerns this session. And then the next one, we will add more JavaScript and more JavaScript functionalities once we had also the backend part integrated and explained. What we want to do today is to recreate some parts of the Politecnico site. You see my screen right now, the Politecnico homepage. Okay, as you can see, me and Mattia selected some elements of this homepage. For example, the navigation bar on the top, this carousel with images, this other carousel with this kind of cards that that pass, and also the footer. This is 4 parts that we selected and that we want to implement during this time. And what we ask to you is we will solve the exercise together, but in a first part, what we will ask to you is to work on your PC and to try to solve each part that we are going to assign to you. So first thing to start with is the footer. And we asked you to code this footer. We will give you 5 minutes, of course, and then we will start with you to do. So don't worry if you have problems, but try to do this exercise alone before, and then we will explain you some tricks and our way of let's say reasoning why we're coding this part. As you can see, the footer is really simple. There are 4 buttons here, and then 3 columns, in which there are 2 columns with links and just 1 column with a paragraph. When we then we will see our solution for the footer. You have not to be so precise, and you have not to recreate the exactly footer of the Politecnico page, because this is just also Politecnico use content management system for its website, so it's easier to do this kind of things. But we ask you a simple representation of this footer. So you have 5 minutes. In these 5 minutes, you can also ask questions, for example, and then in 5 minutes, me and Mattia will show you how we fix this kind of exercise, first exercise.
Of course, for the startup of the web page, you can take already the Bootstrap blueprint web page that has been provided you in yesterday's slides, so that you can have them already prepared.
I can show you because I have it here, the blueprint, and maybe also I can share with them in the chat.
Okay.
Okay.
So you can start up from this simple web page, and without using Bootstrap for the moment, create your own footer.
Of course, this is what happened when you open this HTML page. there is just an hello world, and this code is easily retrievable from Bootstrap documentation. In the introduction section, there is the starter template, and important in this starter template is the definition of what we are using, so HTML5, and this allows us to avoid problem during the execution of our code. And then there is also this meta tags that we added in the header, which is a tag for the responsiveness of the website, since Bootstrap is mobile first. And also this is an important tag to add. But in the boilerplate that you download, they are already added, so it's easy. Okay, I think that we can post our solution. So this was our index HTML. I'm removing the heading, just adding.
Wait a second.
Okay. We have a question.
Let's give you. Yeah, we can give you 5 more minutes. No,
Okay.
No problem.
Yes. I just add some HTML in the page, nothing more. Sorry. Okay, we can also suggest you to find something on the web which is already implemented, just to speed up a little bit the coding phase. But it's really important that you understand then what you are copying and paste. We will show how to get this source code from HTML pages and also how to add the style. Can we use, sorry,
About being able to use W3C CSS, of course you can.
Sorry, guys. It was a call of Professor Garzotto.
Anyone succeeded in creating the footer? Or at least part of it?
Okay. No one speaking. So now I think that we can show our solution. This is just a simple footer with CSS, and we didn't use Bootstrap for this part. And then we will see how it's easier with Bootstrap to manage the footer and to create the footer. So let's return on our code. This is the footer. I
enlarge a little bit the font, please.
Okay. Now better?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the footer. And as you can see, I just added as simple paragraphs all the contents of each column, and I use the break to change line, and then I added this class to each paragraph: class left, class right, and class centered. And I guess you're understanding why. So but if you save the code right now and we reload the page, what we see is just this. So there is nothing that create the style of our footer. So we have to add style, and to add style, we will create a new CSS file that we are going to call footer CSS, and we are going to save this. This is not still enough. In fact, if we refresh, anything, nothing changes, because we have to also include this style in our here in our HTML code. So to do this, let's use this. Okay. So is it right? Style, footer knob, style sheet. Okay. Now saving, and this is first result for our footer. So 3 columns, 1 left, 1 right, and 1 centered. And in the CSS, we added this the float property that allows to put the element in the right position. And then I used an ID to call the footer and to set the background color and the position and the color of the text. This is
just one comment. Notice please that we have used the position fixed and a fixed dimension in pixels to which the block is going to be placed. This means that no matter what device in which we are going on, this footer is going to be linked in the bottom, is going to be anchored in the bottom left part of the page, and is going to stay there no matter what.
As you can see here. I'm trying to scrolling, but the footer, it's at the end. Okay, so for what concern the footer, it's okay. While you will do the next part, which is the navigation bar, I will add a better footer I made with Bootstrap, and then we will also comment this this other footer. But right now, what we are going to ask you, it's the second part of this of the Politecnico homepage, and it's the navigation bar. As you can see, it's fixed on the top of the page, and there is the logo of Politecnico on the left, and on the right part there is the buttons of the menu, and we selected 4 of these buttons. So menu, information, tools, and search. We don't ask you to also add this button, and in each there is this drop down also menu, and we just added buttons here, but there are buttons with no links.
And of course, to get rid of this header, you are highly suggested to go for Bootstrap version of the navbar. You do not need to create it by standard CSS and HTML, because you are going to take really a lot of time to make it. However, before we start, there is a question. Why is no longer the label footer used in HTML? I remember it used to exist some years ago. Good question. Actually, I don't know why. I think it's still present,
It's still
but
present.
no one uses it anymore.
It's still
just
present.
for practical reasons.
No, you can like after the body was closed. Yeah, you can use it. No, not after the body, because all the content has to be put inside the body. But for what concern the footer, I use the footer tag inside the Bootstrap examples. If I'm remembering, if I remember well. So it's you can see.
Come cazzo si fa a avviare un progetto?
Guys, the microphone.
Lorenzo, I don't know how to start a project, but please turn off the mic. Good question, by the way. And so we are leaving now you 10 minutes to try to do this header. And one thing for Lorenzo, if you're asking for how to start using the text, how do you say?
You can use any text editor you want.
Yes, and if you need help to configure the text editor and to start to open the HTML page, feel free to ask.
Just do not use Word. The only exception is do not use Word.
No, okay. The one we presented during lectures, Visual Studio Code, brackets, Sublime Text, Notepad for Windows user. Okay, if you are trying with Visual Studio Code, you can or you use a simple web server like the one I'm using right now. I just downloaded this it's a simple web server, and you pass the folder of your project, and then you click launch, and as you can see, it will launch you a local page, a local web server, and you can host your page there. You can host your project there. Otherwise, for example, if you use Bracket has a live preview tool, and you just click on this button, and you Bracket will open for you the HTML page on Google. Otherwise, if you simply click on the HTML page file and you do open with Google Chrome, you should see the page as well. There are it's three equivalent methods. So while you are working on the nav bar, I will add some other code. So guys, are you doing? Can we start to see the navigation bar together? Maybe other 2 minutes, and then we will show this other part. So what we need is this image on the left, and then 1, 2, 3, 4 button with drop-down menus, and for each menus other kind of button or links. And there is also this kind of effect when you hover on a button and it changes the color. So for the navigation bar, we follow an example of Bootstrap. There are plenty of examples on Bootstrap on page that can speed up your coding. You have this kind of components, for example, for checkout, album, and there are already prepared cards. For example, here there is a different style of footer. There are also nav bars, and you can see there are many kinds of nav bar. We are going to work with this fixed nav bar, which is fixed on top. So it means that if we scroll the page, the nav bar will not be hidden by page content. And how can we use this example in our code? Very easy. You do a right click with your mouse and you want to view the source code of the page. And if you view the source code of the page, I'm going to increase font dimension. As you can see, there are all the elements that were in the page, of course, plus this kind of file, which is the CSS file that gives the style to the navigation bar. So it's really easy to start using Bootstrap. You can copy and paste a page, a part of this content, depending on your needs, and then you can simply add the customize the CSS, considering that Bootstrap provides you lots of pre-built feature, simply importing the framework inside your project. So now we can see how we solve this, how we do the navigation bar. And if you have question, feel free to ask. So for this part, just select the navigation, okay, which is this. Where is it? Okay, I added just the navigation part, as you can see in my HTML code, and here this is wrong. Okay, the navigation bar has a class fixed top that fixed the navigation bar on the top of our page. Then I added the image, and I used an ID to highlight this image because then in the style I'm going to use this ID to change properties of the image. And then this is the other part of the navigation menu where we added the menu, information, tools, and search with all the drop-down item, current students, international students, and the pages, the kind of links that were inside the Politecnico menu. And now if we save and try to reload our page, let's see. Okay, it's a lot of mess and a lot of things that are one on top of the other. Let's see how to fix this. For example, one issue is that we didn't put anything here that said that it has to be fixed at bottom. And this is the first case. As you can see here, it's missing one column. We will see why. And then I want to add also this. Okay, this is the navigation bar. As you can see, I set the color of the navigation bar, the color of drop-down menu, the behavior while lowering of the drop-down item, the dimension of the logo, and also the color of the anchor tag inside the glass nav bar nav. Now I have to check if this is already imported. No, okay, so let's call it navbar CSS, and just to avoid conflicts, comment this other.
Fry, there is a .css more in the last line you added.
Okay, sorry. Okay, great. We see our logo here. Then there is the menu. The menu has a correct functioning. There is the over effect that works well. There is also this search here we can write, and I added an overing effect also in this button. But one other things, it's okay. One thing is this, which is right, which is wrong. It was this, and then I have to add also the usage of icons, because I inserted also icon. I use font icon, and you can just use the CDN to import these icons, and then you can use it on the Font.awesome website. There are all the information. You can just copy and paste the right tag to use the icon. We selected the same icon as the Politecnico menu, more or less. So this was the part related to the navigation bar and the footer. And as you can see now, the footer has also the first column. This was something that wasn't present before. As you can see inside the HTML, the first column is commented. Because I didn't want to display it in a static way. I didn't want to hard code every single text inside the HTML page, but this time I wanted, for example, to use JavaScript and jQuery, of course, to create every list element inside the unordered list. And as you can see, I'm using jQuery that speed up a lot the coding. I just use an array of strings, and then calling the elements of the unordered list, I'm appending each element before using the list element, and then the anchor which is inside each list element, and then adding a class attribute and CSS also for what concerned the anchor. elements.
Before you move forward, Natalie asked to repeat the importing of icons.
Okay, sorry, from where you can import icon. Okay, as you have seen, there are different ways to import external tools inside your project. One of these techniques is to use CDN. So you use content which is hosted in another part, and you just use the link to recall these elements inside your project. So I use the CDN, and to add font awesome inside your project, you just can use this link, this tag, and put it in the add part of your HTML page.
Maybe you can show the font awesome web page so that they can see how to navigate it.
Yeah.
In the meantime, what I want to point out is that remember that icons, especially font awesome icons, are considered as much as CSS. So they work exactly as CSS. The problem is that in this case, you can even decide to override them, and this may be not the best solution of all. So this is the font awesome website.
You, for example, can search for free icon, and you can add, I don't know what we used, menu, for example, and this is the menu we used. And as I was saying, here it's the link to copy the HTML, so you don't have to learn by heart all the kind of icons that exist or the name of the icons. You just select the one you want to use and then copy HTML, clicking on this tag, and you can use it inside the HTML page. Of course, there are also other kind of style for the icon, but they required, for example, pro account and other features that you just unblock through payment. So we use the what is free. If we have our icons, where they will be inserted, they can be inserted as I used, for example, this source image in the project. I for example, use in this folder, I'm putting all the media that I'm going to use. And if you have, for example, a special set of icons that you are using and you have local on your PC, you can import them also using this method. Otherwise, if you have other set of icon, I'm pretty sure that the icon provider will give you an CDN link as the one as font awesome. Instead, if you are designing your icon, if you are creating this icon from scratch, it will be, for example, an image, a PNG, a JPEG, and SVG. So you can put them inside together with other media of your project. Of course, Marta. These kinds of solution will be available on BIP. I will upload also the code of past lecture, the one about the examples about JavaScript and jQuery, and also this example. Okay. maybe we have a few minutes. We can move on and add the carousel. Maybe just the carousel, and then we will stop.
Yeah.
Okay, the carousel we want is this one. So until yesterday there were just 3 images. Today are 4 because they added the open days one. So in our example, you will see just 3 images, and there is a caption here, also with a button. And this is what we are going to ask you. We give you 5 minutes, and in these 5 minutes, I will show you that also Bootstrap can give us an end, because we have carousel somewhere. I was sure that were carousel in Bootstrap.
Yeah, it is. It's in the second line. Second line, second block.
Here. So this is the carousel that we are going to use, and same as before, we view source code and we can see all the code. And of course, this is the code of all the page, so it's not just the carousel code, but there are also these 3 elements here, and then the HR to put this line, and also these other sections. But we are interested just in the carousel, and the carousel is here. Div my carousel till the end. And of course, the carousel and all the page will have CSS attached, which is this one. And this is a page which is more complex than the one before, so there are more elements to be customized. These are the elements of the carousel, and these are the other elements of the pages. But we are interested just in the carousel. So at 10, we will show you also this part of the carousel, and then we can stop. And if you have question, we will answer your question. Okay, guys, let's see this last part about the carousel. Again, I'm going to copy and paste the code I showed you. So this is the navigation bar, and we are going to put the carousel right before, right after. Carousel as an ID, my carousel, and as a class, carousel slide. We put this ordered list of indicators, which means that it's ordered, not unordered. And the first element is belongs to the class active. Then we put inside the each of these class is contained. Each of these carousel item is contained in the carousel inner, and there is the carousel item which is active, which has the same class of the list element. And here we put an image, of course, that is the image to use as a screen. And then inside the container, we put a title and a paragraph with a button. Very, very easy. Now save and see what is the result. Of course, I didn't add any CSS to this, but it's pretty cool right now. Let's see with CSS what we are going to change. Cancel copy. So this is some style for the body, and for what concern the carousel. Here I wanted to add text stroke to better highlight the text on the image, because white on white was unreadable. And I think there is nothing more to comment about this. I just have to add this style to the page. Okay. As you can see, there are arrows to move our carousel. Here is the stroke that I was saying before, and they look pretty similar. Now let's see if there are any questions. Yes.
About the main role main tag, it is an accessibility tag that is stating that from the carousel on, it is the main part of the page, whereas the header, which is not part of the, which is not inside this main tag, is something external. It's the navigation menu, so that this automatic readers is able to highlight the blind user, for example, that from this moment on, we are discussing about the main part of the text of the page, whereas what was before was the initial part of the page.
It simply gives you a better structure of your and a better readability of your code. Also, since HTML is thought to be, you can think HTML as a series of container, and you can put inside the container every element you want. This is a first distinction between parts of your page, which can be really best practice while you are coding. As you can see here, in Bootstrap there is another part which ends, and then right after there is the main. Then the main it's closed at the end here, I guess. No, the main is closed right after, and
After
there
the
is also,
footer.
and there is also the footer here. So other questions so far? Otherwise, we can leave you with this last task to accomplish. So the last task is to do this kind of carousel, but instead of one image, this carousel contains 4 cards. And each card has an image and a title and has some text inside, then a button and another button here with an icon. This is an exercise that we leave you, that you can do to practice. Of course, we will publish the complete solution, so in the solution on BIP you will find also this part implemented, but we suggest you to try first alone and then to see our code. And if there are no other questions, I will stop the recording. Let's try. Okay, seems that there are no questions, so I will stop recording.